Hey everybody, I'm Francesca Maxime and this is WiseGirl. Thanks so much for joining me today. I just got back from yoga and one of the insights that I had during my yoga class was this difference between love and attachment. Do we even really know what the difference is? And basically, I sort of came to the conclusion that for most of my life, I didn't even really realize this, I had been living in a place of being attached, but not necessarily being as loving and generous as I thought that I was being. So, what does that really mean? That means that I might do something for someone who's a romantic partner or someone in my family or even a friend, but hope and expect that they would come back and give me something back. It might be a birthday gift, it might be something like a ride to the airport, or it might be something simple like watching my cat or something. And oftentimes they wouldn't, and then I would get disappointed, and then I would question, why am I giving so much or whatever, and not receiving enough. However, then about a year and a half ago, I started a new meditation and yoga practice, and definitely just doing a lot of inner work because I wasn't all that happy. I had a lot of good things in my life, a decent career, a nice apartment in Brooklyn, like, I'm healthy, which is terrific, but I wasn't really satisfied. And I went on this journey, which included meditation and yoga, but a lot of looking inward. And I read a book called There's Nothing Wrong with You, A Guide to Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. And she talks about that everybody has an inner goodness. That's everybody, not just me, but everybody. And I'm like, well, really, what's that inner goodness all about? And basically, it's just sort of talking about the fact that none of us are bad. We may not do wise things. We may engage in behavior that is not that skillful or that helpful, but that isn't who we are. And that we learn, oftentimes, these unskillful behaviors, this kind of conditioning, over a period of time because we kind of weren't getting what we needed as kids growing up for whatever reason, even if we had a lot. People weren't attuned to our inner emotional needs. So the more that we can really just understand that A, there's nothing wrong with us and never was. B, some of the things that we've done unskillfully, like attach to people or situations or outcomes, and do things in a generous way that we hoped we might get something back from, that wasn't really working for us. That in fact, if we can rest in the fact that we can love ourselves and start there and be generous with ourselves and compassionate with ourselves, that opens up a whole new way of looking at the world and being generous and loving in a way that is based on self-compassion and self-acceptance. So we can then be more loving and accepting of others. So I would just invite you, perhaps on this Sunday, October 2nd, to think about that. What are your relationships like in terms of love versus attachment? And attachment often is based on fear. If you look at that, meaning I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't do certain things or if I don't get certain things, versus if I'm really just unconditionally loving. And see if we can't cultivate that within ourselves a little bit, that idea of unconditionally loving ourselves. Because, as I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with us. So I leave you with that. Find me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram under Francesca Maxime. This is WiseGirl. Thanks so much for joining me.